What's going on, guys? It's Chris Moulton, Andrew Martin. It's the Union Report. We're here live at Cardinale Stadium, and this is a bittersweet episode. It's our season send-off. We did not make the playoffs this season, and so we're here to kind of wrap things up. So, Andrew, why don't you start us off?
Sure. Yeah, it's always sad when the season comes to an end. Doesn't mean we're going to stop making content, though. We're going to be there right through the off season. We ended our season in a downward trend with a final loss against Tulsa this past Saturday, but it was a good match. We were right there at the end for a draw, and unfortunately Walmer had a ball that went off the crossbar in the last couple of minutes. Otherwise, that would have been an awesome way to end the season. What's been a tough season in many regards, but yeah, it was a good way to send out. Obviously we would like the win or at least the draw, but it is what it is.
Definitely. No, I do think that we had the second half of the season. I mean, it's been a lot of ups and downs. I think more downs than ups from like an on-pitch perspective, but off the pitch, I feel like, we continued to kind of trend upwards, and especially those last couple with Phoenix and Sacramento. I like to leave that in my mind as kind of the end of the season where we really showed up and we saw, kind of a taste of what we're going to look forward to next year. So I guess I do have some questions. Got the paper right here. Andrew Martin.
Yes.
How would you rate this season overall?
Like you said, I think I would rate this as an up and down season. Unfortunately, we lost Coach Frank Yellup earlier in the year, and we've gained now Coach Jordan Stewart. We have Simon Dawkins on the sideline. We went through a lot of injuries. I think what a lot of people don't necessarily think about all the time is when you start a franchise, that's a monumental task, which is what Coach Yellup did. And then on top of that, once you've started the franchise, you need to find that franchise identity. And I think that that's kind of where we're in the process right now. So it's a lot of work. So I guess a word that I would use to describe this season is a lot. That's 2 words.
Definitely. If you could put like a numerical value between 1 being like worst possible, 10 being like absolute bliss, where would you rate the season?
It wasn't like an absolute disaster. I think we saw a lot with our players overcoming the injuries, the coaching staff coming together after Jordan, our current coaching staff coming together after Jordan and Simon came on board. So that's not for nothing at all. So I'd probably put it at, about a 4 or 5. Obviously the playoffs would be ideal. But I do have, a good strong sense kind of what we saw over the last couple of months and heading into the off season that we're headed towards a good trajectory with that. What about you?
Yeah, I would tend to think I'm kind of midpoint, maybe like 5, 5.5. I tend to agree that identity is so important for a club to establish, and I really did feel like we hadn't done that even up to this year, and this is 3 full seasons in, but I kind of see exactly what we're going to be looking like, and we actually talked with Simon Dawkins about that, and he gave us like here is what the identity will be, and so I'm excited to see that. But overall, I'd rate the season like maybe 5.5.
Yeah, because if you look anywhere in professional sports and you have new franchises that start, it's essentially unheard of to just like go in there and you're clicking from day one, everything's in place. I mean, you got to do a lot of trial and error. You're seeing what works, what doesn't. So this is normal growing pains in professional sports from my experience over the years, having watched, having written about, having done a lot of stuff with professional sports. So we're just in that phase of the identity process right now.
That's good, though. And I mean, would you agree the injuries this year really played a massive role in the end result? Would you agree with that statement?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, at various times when you looked at kind of who was on the injury report, you could say with a straight face, we're down to our 7th or 8th striker. It seemed to really hit hard up front. And sometimes that reflected. But again, you can't really help when these injuries happen. A lot of them were, I guess you could call them injuries of the freak nature, when
Right.
people having contact injuries in the middle of the game, that sort of thing. So it happens to a lot of teams, and the bug just happened to hit us really hard this season.
Yeah, and there's nothing, I mean, honestly, there's not a lot we can do as far as you can't prepare for that. I mean, of course, you can have guys waiting in the wings to step up, but like when we talk with Carlos Herrera, it's just one of those things. When it happens, next man up, you got to be ready. And it got to the point for us up front where it was like, well, we don't have anyone necessarily,
because the next man up got injured,
yeah,
and then the next man got injured.
Yeah, exactly. So, what's my next question? Yes, we did see some major changes take place this season, and said some goodbyes to familiar faces and endeared players and coaches. How difficult do you think this offseason is going to be as far as from an emotional standpoint?
Yeah, I mean, change is always difficult, I think, for many people. When it's really, while it's happening, once you start seeing the results from change, for better or for worse, then you can get a better sense. And I think that you start having new emotions about that. I think that, like you said, some of the faces that have departed from here that have just been like such key figures of this franchise have left amazing legacies. And I'm personally excited. I'm really appreciative of everything that they did for the club, and I'm just excited to see what the new wave of folks that will be part of the franchise will bring as well.
Yeah, I would agree. Just looking at it from a Chinese food perspective, like sweet and sour sauce, you know what I mean? Like you can't really enjoy the sweet as much when you don't have the sour. And I think truly those guys, everything that anyone that's played here that has poured themselves out on this pitch has brought us to today. And so when we do see some departures, which are inevitable, I look at that, like you said, and I think of the legacy they left behind and the memories that I can hang on to as a fan, looking back as I see those guys either, back on this pitch, like we saw James Murphy, who's now with Detroit, or Robbie Crawford at Charleston and stuff like that. So I think it's an exciting new chapter for those guys as well. And then just to see what comes of the Jordan Stewart era here coming next season.
Absolutely. I mean, coming and going is, for better or for worse, part of sports.
Absolutely.
Professional sports. So there's really never going to be any situation where you start with your roster guys and then 15 years later they all decide to retire or ride off into the sunset. There's always going to be comings and goings. We saw a little bit more of that this year than we've been accustomed to in the first 3 years, but we're moving on to the next chapter.
Unless you're Barcelona from like the early to mid 2010s, and then now you're at what is it? Miami FC.
Yeah.
What's the name
FC
of that?
Miami?
FC, yeah, Miami. Yeah. So
#goals.
Yeah. So, do you have any questions? I feel like I'm just
I'm here to answer your questions. I like when you have the talking points. It takes the pressure off me because I like to talk, but if you bring up the subjects, then I'm good to go.
Oh, okay. Well, so there is going to be on November 9th, we have I guess an event here where it's going to be like a blowout sale for merchandise.
Absolutely.
And I just saw they announced that is from, I'm going to kill this on the times.
2 to 5 p.m. on the 9th.
2 to 5. Okay.
9th is a Saturday. So not this Saturday, but the Saturday
following
after.
Saturday.
Huge discounts. I don't remember the exact percentages, but it was significant. Like I think I saw some that were over 50%. They said that they're going to unveil merchandise, I think, that was never even available before. Okay. It sounds like they're kind of clearing the decks on the merchandise. There's going to be food and drink here. It sounded like there's going to be on-field access for fans, and it's open to the public, not just ticket holders, it sounds like.
Yeah, I saw that the season ticket holders will have early access, and they're going to have, I guess, at the patio, drinks and some food. I don't know if it's small bite or like full on like burgers and hot dogs or what,
but definitely check out the MBFC website. That will have all the details. We're just giving you like a little appetizer right now.
Yeah, exactly. And so I don't know. I think just looking at the season coming to an end, right? We have the holidays coming up, and that always tends to make it easier while we're waiting for the new season, and a lot of chatter we're expecting coming from the club during the winter months as they make signings and moves are being made. What's your excitement level, I guess, going from right now, end of season 3, looking ahead to season 4?
Yeah, I mean, as I was saying kind of before we came on camera, I live for this stuff. I'm a longtime baseball fan before kind of moving my allegiances over to footy. But I've always loved the off season. You know, like we were saying, it's always difficult to kind of say goodbye to folks that may not end up coming back. But I love kind of the drama and the expectation of seeing, you know, who's being linked to the team, who gets signed, that sort of thing. It's fantastic. In baseball, they call that the hot stove league.
Yep.
I don't know if we still call it the same thing in this sport, but the same principles apply. So
yeah, definitely. Yeah, I'm excited as well. I think it's going to be a huge off season. I think we're going to have news like we've never had here. As far as, you know, we saw prior to season 1 kind of a lot of signings and who's coming and what is this team going to look like. And so, well, we're looking at almost a reset here. And so I'm seeing a lot of news coming in the future. So that's exciting. And then I have to ask you, because I've encountered several people online that are very hung up on the missing the playoffs for the 3rd year. I know, I'm speaking for myself. If I knew, like, let's say 30 years from now, that Monterey Bay FC Union never made the playoffs, I know I would still be as diehard a fan yesterday as I will be in 30 years. Andrew, how important, and don't get me wrong, I want to go to the playoffs just as much as any freaking buddy else, okay? That's the truth. I want a star. I want everything. But Andrew, if we, in 30 years, you knew right now that in 30 years we'd never make the playoffs, would you still pour out as much effort as you do today for the club through that time frame?
I got this one. So I grew up as a Red Sox fan in baseball, and I first started rooting for the Red Sox around 1985, so right before the famous Bill Buckner ball. So for years and years growing up, you know, they occasionally made the playoffs, but all you heard was like, "Oh, curse of Babe Ruth, curse of Babe Ruth," and they had all these close shots, and they never quite made it. And then finally in 2004, they made it in really dramatic fashion. You know, coming back from 3-0 against the New York Yankees, who's currently down 3-0 themselves in the World Series, but to me, I almost feel like if they were just consistently winning during that whole time, you know, it wouldn't have necessarily been so sweet. And I'm not saying that I think a team should just go through, you know, losing and that's fine. I think every sports team strives to be the best that they can be.
Mm-hmm.
But when Boston finally came over the hump, you know, I just can't even. I was just watching a Netflix documentary about that this weekend. Actually, it's really hard to describe how satisfying that is. And I think that, you know, when we make the playoffs, when we hopefully win a championship here down the road, I think fans are going to have a similar feeling, and that's what we all chase, is that feeling.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I think it goes back to these we'll call them sour times. Not making the playoffs will make making the playoffs, winning a championship that much sweeter. And so I'm excited for what the future holds here at Monterey Bay FC. I think that, you know, we have probably one of the nicest soccer specific stadiums in the championship, right? We're just showcasing the home stands there. I'm seeing a lot of growth around USL Championship. We're going to get another couple of expansion teams,
Yep.
I think, next year. Sporting Jacks and
Brooklyn?
Oh, Brooklyn, is that next year?
Or that's maybe
I think
2
it's
years.
Milwaukee
Yeah.
next year,
Yeah.
and then
But a lot of growth.
We'll have Brooklyn and Iowa the following season. So a lot of growth about the league, and just excited to see what this offseason is going to hold and how we're going to look coming onto the pitch day one in season 4.
Right.
So
Right. And we've talked, multiple times now with Jordan Stewart and Simon Dawkins, and just the fire is clearly there.
Oh yeah.
The passion for getting an improved result this coming year is totally there. So that's really what is making me excited about seeing what they can do. We're on the new chapter of the franchise right now. There'll be, I think, lots of amazing chapters before everything is all said and done with this franchise. But I'm excited to see what happens in this chapter.
Yeah, definitely. This would be what, chapter 2?
Yeah, I guess you could. Well, maybe chapter 3 if you consider kind of the formation of the club
Oh
first
yeah,
and
okay.
foremost. Yeah,
Yeah.
there's so many chapters, so many things to write about.
It's like a prelogue almost.
Yeah.
And then well, guys, we're so thankful that you've come out, you've watched our videos. We hope that you guys appreciate the content that we're putting out. This is just two guys that love this team and want to shine a light on it for other people to see. And so we're going to be here, like Andrew said in the beginning, throughout the off season. We're going to try and bring you breaking news. We're going to try and deliver the content that keeps the club front and center through the winter months. But this right now is kind of our salute to season 3. We will be coming with our team superlative awards as well.
Second annual.
Yeah, second annual. And so we're looking forward to that. But yeah, Andrew, you have anything else?
No, I think you said it perfectly. I mean, we're just here to hopefully enhance, and strengthen the team staying in our community. It's such a privilege to have a professional soccer team,
Yes.
Especially in a relatively smaller community when you're considering some of the other cities that our competition plays
Right.
in. And so we just want to, make sure that fans are aware of the club, are excited by the club, and just trying to do our little part with that.
Yep, sustainability for this club has always been our one of our mission statements. So share this with a friend, have them buy season tickets, invite them to a game. We say this like literally every time. We want this club around for generations. So
check it out November 9th. There's going to be a great opportunity to kind of see a lot of the facility, buy some good, cool, cheap merch, and I'm sure they'll have ticket information, I'm assuming, there as well.
Yeah, definitely. Yep. So November 9th, be here. And from myself, Chris Moulton, and Andrew Martin, this is the Union Report Season 3 send-off. Go Union.
Go Union.